In this video, we're going to show you how to install the alternator on your Ford 500, located on the passenger side of the engine compartment. Using an 8mm wrench or a socket, go ahead and loosen the nut on the ground terminal. Once that's loose, give it a little wiggle and work that off. Grab the hubcap, gently pry that off. Use your 19mm socket and impact gun to loosen and remove the lug nuts. With the lug nuts removed, grab the wheel, pull it off, and set it aside. Now that we have our passenger side wheel off, we want to go ahead and remove the inside fender well liner. There's a series of plastic push pins all the way around holding this in place. You're going to need your trim tool and a Phillips head screwdriver to remove these. You use our Phillips head screwdriver on the bumper section here. Now there's normally 3 of these here. Our third one is missing on our particular vehicle, but if yours has that in there, go ahead and remove that one. Sometimes these plastic pins, they just don't want to come out. Our fender is damaged here, so it's causing even more pressure on these clips. Do the best you can removing them. You might have to source some of these clips locally. You can grab the wheel well liner and just work that out. Feed my tensioner tool up and inside, and that has a little 3/8 style square on the end that'll fit into the tensioner hole. Once I pop that in there, I'm going to pull down and work the belt off of our crankshaft on the bottom here. Up and around. And then we'll release that. Now that we have our belt off, we can go ahead and loosen the bolt from the tensioner. I'm going to use my box wrench here. Go ahead and get up inside there. It's going to loosen that bolt. Now from the lower side, I'm going to use my hammer and just kind of tap on the back side of it. Most of the time the tensioner will just pop off from the front side, but the corrosion from road salt and everything kind of causes it to stick. Now go ahead and position this so we can go ahead and remove it. Come up here, and our particular vehicle has some wire ties. Just gonna cut that, remove that there. Now on the back side, there is an electrical connector right here, and there's a little clip on the front side of it. Now I'm gonna use a small pocket screwdriver, and I go up underneath that connector, under that little clip, and just gently pry that out. You wanna be careful with that, don't break the clip. And pop that connector off. Now also on the back side of the alternator, underneath this rubber boot, is actually the power wire. I'm gonna peel that back. That exposes a 10mm nut underneath. We're gonna use a socket and ratchet to go ahead and remove that. Spin that nut off, then you should be able to pull that power wire and pull all the wires off to the side like that. All right, we're gonna use a 15mm deep socket and our ratchet, and I wanna go ahead and loosen these bolts. Remove the second bottom bolt here, and then we'll go ahead and get to the upper one. Okay, now that we have that loose, I'm gonna put my power tool up in there and get that zipped out. Now pull out that last stud right here. And right in front of the alternator here, we have this harness that runs across, and it connects to our sensor right here on the side of that motor. Press in this little clip here, pop that off. That'll free up that entire wiring harness. Now the new alternator should have a replacement nut on here for the power wire. We're gonna remove that and set that aside. Take the alternator, we're gonna feed that back up and in. Now I grab one of the studs here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put one in on the lower portion. I'm gonna try and feed this up and hold it with one hand and get one of those studs lined up into the engine here and get that started. All right, now we have that in place. Let's go ahead and get the other bolt started. Get the other lower bolt in. And we'll get our upper stud installed. All right, we have all three studs started. Let's go ahead and snug those down. Go ahead and torque down our bolts to 35 foot-pounds. And repeat for the other two. Go ahead and connect that connector right here. I'll line that up and just push that on. And you hear it and feel it snap into place. Install our power wire here. Get that nut installed. And I want to make sure that that is snug. It doesn't have to be super tight, but you do want to make sure that it's not going to back off. So I'm just going to switch over to my hand ratchet here. Snug that down. And pop that rubber boot over that. And we have our electrical connector right here. Want to line this up, press it on. You'll feel it and hear it snap into place. And if your harness is loose like this here, just use some sort of tie strap or something to secure that. I'm just going to run it up around another harness. And then we're just going to cut off the excess. I'm going to snake our tensioner back up into position. Now when installing the tensioner, there's 2 pins on the back side that line up with 2 holes on the mounting plate there on the front side of the engine. Just line those up, get that bolt started, thread it in as far as you can by hand. Now the new bolt is a 14 millimeter. So we're going to use that wrench to tighten that down. Now, if you have the ability to do so, you want to go ahead and torque this down to 33 foot-pounds. We're going to use our wrench. I'm going to snug that into place. Now we can go ahead and install our belt. Now, when installing your belt, there's a specific routing that the belt has to go around. Otherwise, you're going to end up with an issue. And once we get our belt lined up on there, we can release our tool here on the tensioner. Slide that out. You want to go ahead and inspect all of the pulleys, make sure the belt is fully seated on all of the pulleys, the tensioner, and everything all around. And our belt is a little bit off on the tensioner, so we're going to loosen that belt a little bit and push that back into position. And then we can go ahead, relax our tool. And let's go ahead and install our fender liner. Tuck our fender liner up into place. Pushing it in behind the bumper, inside the fender well, or the fender trim itself. At this point right here, you'd want to install your 2 plastic push pins. Our fender is pushed in, so it's not making it easy for us to put these in, so we're going to install these after, but you can go ahead and install your 2 plastic push pins here. I'm going to continue by installing the rest of the pins around the liner. Let's install our screws into the front bumper and into the liner. Now I'm not going to tighten this down yet. I want to make sure you can get the other 3 in. On our vehicle, our upper screw was missing. The trim piece is broken, so we don't have a screw there. But once you get all 3 of them installed, come back and snug them down. And once you have these tight, you can now install the wheel. Go ahead, grab your wheel. Get that lined up onto the studs. We'll get all of our lug nuts all started by hand. Once these are all on, we'll snug them down. Using your 19 millimeter socket, go ahead and torque the lug nuts down to 95 foot-pounds. If you're installing a hubcap, watch for the notch. This is where the valve stem is going to go. Line that up first, and then tap on the cap. Install the ground terminal. Use your 8mm socket to go ahead and snug this down. And once that nut bottoms out, just give it a couple more turns here. You want to make sure it's good and snug, but don't over tighten it. Give it a little wiggle, make sure that isn't twisting on the post, and you're all set.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.